Hi guys, welcome to the Raven Tube.
New and improved. New and improved.
New and improved. We have changed the name,
Yeah,
not
that's
for
all we've
copyright
done.
reasons, and
That's
not for
all we've
reasons that we cannot talk about currently. Just because we decided to. Today we're going to be discussing the newly released demo for Lies of P, going into further detail into the story, the gameplay, bosses, aesthetic, and all the things that we really liked about it. Of course, I'm joined by my legal counsel, Guilty Grey.
say nothing. No comment. My client has no comment. He wasn't even there at the time. He was busy murdering someone else. I think I made
Run!
a mistake. We're handcuffed to the table. Why am I handcuffed? I'm the fucking lawyer.
So today we're going to be discussing the recently released demo for Lives of P. Obviously, it was announced during the Summerfest. Came out on.
It was like a shadow drop of the demo, right? It was out.
They basically dropped it the first day after putting out a trailer showing a bit more action of the game. Quite a substantial demo, I'd say. Got 3 bosses in there.
How long did it take you to complete the demo?
The first time I completed it, it took me 3 hours, and then second time subsequently ran through it. I think it was like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. But I kind of knew where everything was at that point.
Less exploration and more just playing straight to the end.
Yeah, exactly. Like in the first one, I was going in every
My
corner.
second playthrough of Elden Ring was 4 hours, and my first was 110. So
it kind of works out. Once you know where things are, you just go there. This game, Lies of P, based on the work of Carlo Collodi's Pinocchio. Originally came out in 1883. Obviously, this has recently gone into public domain, I believe. I'm going to pass this over to my lawyer who can give us more information. Guilty Grey, can you tell us about the copyright laws?
So I believe the premise of Pinocchio is in the public domain, and I think it has been for a while. Obviously, we had that recent film from Guillermo del Toro as well. Yeah. So it's one of those kind of things that's just around. It's been quite. It's starting to be utilized a bit more. Certain things in this are not, and we were talking about this beforehand, that are not the same. So obviously I mean, a lot of it's not the same.
Yeah.
You're not a puppet in the general sense of a puppet, not made of wood. You're like a metal android, would you say? Kind of like a servant robot type.
Yeah, like an automaton?
Automaton, yes, exactly, perfect. So you're like an automaton. You've got a little cricket who's also an automaton, but his name is Gemini, not to be mistaken with Jiminy. Likelihood is the name Jiminy is a copyright of Disney, because originally in the original book, he doesn't have a name. It's just a talking cricket, which is uninspired, but at the same time, whatever. It's weird, right? Because, like you said, this is a very substantial demo. It's 3 hours long, but actually, there's not a lot of story reveal. You don't really know what's going on. You've just been kind of placed into this dystopian world where this, there's been this, obviously, what you can only imagine is like a revolt of these robots. Something's gone wrong. The AI switch. It's basically like Skynet, right? Skynet in the 1700s or whatever this is meant to be. They've attacked. It's set in a place called Krat, which I think is fictional. I don't actually know. I didn't Google this. I should check. Is Krat a place?
I'm in a bank on it being
not
it being fictional. Part of me feels like the
definitely
aesthetic,
based on Paris, right?
Yes, that's what I think. I was going to say the aesthetic feels very, very French, very steampunk French. I mean, obviously saying steampunk, it's a load of metal puppets with probably literal steam coming out of them.
I think that's definitely the perfect. Yeah, it's mad inventors, crazy things going on. There's always seems to be a lifeblood thing, right? There's always one thing. There's like a discovery. It's Adam in BioShock, and then there's things everywhere. And in this, it's Ergo, right?
Yeah.
So someone's discovered Ergo. Ergo gives the animatronics the ability to move in a form of sentience, I suppose. But they're all dictated by these laws, right? There's the 5 laws.
Yes.
A puppet cannot lie. A puppet cannot hurt. A puppet cannot disobey its master, and then there's some more.
Check out I Am Legend.
Yeah, basically. But it's the story is quite good so far. So like it's a big demo. Even within those 3 hours, you don't really learn much. So you start off, you go to Hotel Krat, you learn more about what's happened through kind of context, a very Souls-like way of doing things. You pick up papers and stuff like that, and that just kind of tells you what's going on in the world. Then obviously you find spoilers if you haven't played it yet. You find Geppetto. He doesn't even reveal much either. He just kind of pushes you on your way to your next objective, and obviously you've got this kind of hub within the hotel. And my assumption would be that's going to act very much like Bloodborne's cathedral. You're going to bring people in, and it's going to build up your kind of understanding of the world and the lore around you.
I think you're right. I think that's going to be the hub area for the game. Everything you said about the story and the public domain stuff was correct as well. I think they did a good job on the demo story-wise, because like you said, if you look into your surroundings and everything that's going on around you in the game, then you'll be able to pick up a lot more of the story. Like there's a part where you're walking through the level and you hear a speaker go off, and it talks about a puppet revolt telling people to stay inside. Then again, we don't necessarily know how long this has been going on for. We can only assume that it's been going on for a while. I mean, judging by what you see on the streets, it looks that way. But if you just run through it as well, then it's still going to be a fun experience. You're still going to come across characters. Geppetto obviously being in there. It kind of seemed like Geppetto would be a big reveal in the game, but in the demo, I think he is meant to be more sort of like a Da Vinci type character.
Yeah, that's definitely the vibe you get from Sophia when you first meet her. He's this kind of genius who sparked the utilization of puppets is all created through him. He created the first puppets, and then from there he spurned this kind of revolution of puppets, this using puppets to kind of do everything. They serve people, they work for people, etc. And all the puppets are the same apart from obviously P. They call him Pinocchio. They don't actually call him Pinocchio.
No, they don't call him Pinocchio.
They only call him Geppetto's puppet.
Yeah.
And Geppetto calls him my son.
Yeah.
But there is no reference to his name being Pinocchio. So I mean, that could also be a reveal later on that he's not Pinocchio.
It could be. I mean, the thing is, there was not to jump forward. Obviously, we're going to talk about this a bit later on. But there's certain parts where you, like for example, when you get to the bridge and you're fighting the donkey recognizes your character. So you've got to believe that maybe there are copies of you or clones of you. Even in like the way a lot of these Souls games work, where you die and you're reborn, maybe it is your, I guess your soul per se that is just reanimating another shell, for example, and that's how you're able to come back every time. And that could make sense. Maybe there's a load of you in the world. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the bosses is going to be like Dark P or another clone copy of yourself. I can see that being the case.
It could happen. He's making a comeback. I think my prediction, I'm going to do a prediction here. Sorry if I do spoil it for anyone. I think that you're not Pinocchio, but I think that you are of the same ilk as Pinocchio. So you're created by Geppetto, maybe following the same rules, but Pinocchio is the one who created this puppet revolution.
Yeah.
And you're like a secondary version of Pinocchio that has now been animated by Sophia to go and fight Pinocchio. Hence why it's called The Lies of P. Do you know what I mean? So you've got P and his lies have created this kind of revolution which has caused lots of mayhem. But let's not get too bogged down on that, I suppose. There's something else in this game as well, which is it's not very in the forefront, but there is a disease as well. So people are starting to suffer from this thing like a petrification disease. So I think you come across Sophia's got it. Not Sophia, Antoinette, whatever her name is, the one who owns the Hotel Krat.
Yeah,
she
yes.
has it. And you meet this lady in the town just before you fight the police.
In the window.
Yeah, and she's
very reminiscent of Bloodborne. I've got to just point it out.
Honestly, genuinely, I think that's something we should definitely talk about. So we've discussed the story and where we think it's going and kind of what it does, but I think we definitely have to talk about the vibe, the aesthetic of this game. Definitely. It gives me Yharnam vibes to the ends of the earth.
Yeah, it feels like if Yharnam was London, and like we're saying this is reminds us of Paris. It's kind of like that. It's essentially like you feel like it exists in the same world where Yharnam does, but this is basically the French counterpart, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I get that. I get that wholly. It's like the Bohemian counterpart to the Gothic London, right?
Yeah,
It's yeah. I get you. I know exactly what you mean. It just has that look, but I think everything, like the design, you can tell this game has Bloodborne as its main influence. You can see that, right?
Yeah.
It's very clear that Bloodborne has influenced everything. The gameplay is very much more of a Bloodborne style gameplay than it is Souls-like.
Yeah.
The combat's faster. It still has a block, which I suppose gives it a bit more of a difference, and it doesn't have the parry system like shooting. But then you have the Legion arms,
Yeah.
which give you that kind of, again, it gives you like a change up to the way you play and how the gameplay kind of holds up. So you got the grappling hook on, you can pull people towards you. The first one you've got is just like a punch, and I'm assuming they can do a lot with that. Lots of different arms, meaning different types of combat. Your weaponry is not as robust, I suppose, as the trick weaponry as in Bloodborne, but it does have that same vibe as well. So each weapon has two Fable Arts, right?
Yeah.
Or Fable Art for the blade and Fable Art for the handle. And I couldn't figure it out, but it seemed like they could be interchangeable.
Yeah, there was a certain point in the game you can actually change the handle. So, like, for example, I unlocked like I want to say a billy club from one of the police puppets. And when I got his weapon, I was able to take the handle off and put it onto my saber. But then it gave you the moveset of the club instead of the sword, but instead it would have the sword on it. So I believe the handle dictates the moveset, or at least the moves that you
profile,
yeah.
Like the movement profile. Okay, that's interesting, and I think that's good. That's good. I like that. It allows for way more customization than like your own kind of spin on how you play the game. You can, say for instance, you prefer the moveset of a heavier weapon, change out the handle, so you have that moveset, but then using a weapon which maybe scales with technique instead of scaling with multibility, I think is the other one. And then you've got that ability to then have more of a dex weapon with a strength strike. Yeah, I like that. That's good.
I think the gameplay is really good. I think definitely leans towards Bloodborne as talking. You do have a block, but you need to do more of a perfect block in order to not take damage. Whereas if you just regularly block, you will take damage. But it does give you the opportunity to gain your health back if you damage the enemy after that, which is obviously very reminiscent of Bloodborne.
Yeah, I also like the mechanic of the Estus in this. You've got that cell. When you've depleted the cell, you have to start with 3. When you've depleted all 3, every consecutive strike on the enemy refills it back up. I think that's good. It's quite a forgiving mechanic, and I like it. I like the idea that it's not the end. You can use it, but as long as you play well from that moment on, you can get that back, and then you can allow yourself another heal. So you're never fully on the back foot. You can constantly keep replenishing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you need to, you can fill that back up again, and you can use it again. I did like that. I did find the animation for using it was sometimes really slow, and that was a bit annoying for me, because I get it, but when you've got, especially, so my example for this would be the Parade Master. When you're fighting that boss, he has some moves where he can come at you quite quick, so you can try and make up the ground, so you make up the distance and you try to go to heal, and then he's on you, and he will hit you halfway through and it interrupts the heal. That I thought was a bit like, okay, I get it, you have to put mechanic in where it makes it slightly delayed because you don't want to be instantaneous because it's too OP, but it's like, you're going to make the enemies come at me so fast, I'm literally never going to get a chance to heal, and that frustrated me slightly as well. And I don't know if you did it, but if you try to use your Legion arm when you have no Legion juice, I don't know what it's called. You got no Legion juice left, it just puts you into a really shitty animation where you're just looking at your arm for a bit. If you accidentally press it, you're fucked basically. So when your Legion arm is exhausted, when you press it, he just looks at his arm but he stops. You can't do anything else. You're stuck in the animation for quite a while, and you're looking at your arm, and then people will start smacking. Oh, they're not going to stop hitting you. I think that it's punishing you for having no stamina or Legion juice left, but it punishes you so hard. Say if you accidentally press the button, especially when the control scheme is right trigger, right button are the attacks, and then left trigger is something different. It's very easy to kind of fall into the flow and just accidentally press it, and then you're screwed, and you're stuck there like looking at your arm and you get hurt. So I thought that was a bit too punishing for an easy mistake to make. That might just be me. Maybe I'm just shit.
I think it's part and parcel of Souls-like. Like in every game, they always talk about input reading. I mean, everyone was saying that about Elden Ring, that there's input reading. Like the second you press to heal, the enemy instantly attacks you. I think in this one, I didn't really have that issue. I didn't feel it was that too unforgiving.
Yeah, I don't think it was input reading at all. I think it was just that there are times where you could be blindsided while you're in the middle of doing the animation, and the animation lasts quite a while, and it just knocks you out of the animation. I think it should be a little bit quicker. That's all it was. Okay. And then maybe there's like a perk or an ability later on that makes it faster. I don't know, but
I'm sure there will be. I was going to say I feel like they put something in there, like an ability or perhaps something you equip, an amulet or something that does speed up your healing. I could see that definitely being there. I mean, obviously
there are amulets in the game. I thought you were actually joking. You said amulet, and I realised yes, there are amulets.
There are amulets.
I did like the frames, like so you have the different frames you could switch between, which gave you like basically different armor types. But that was quite cool the way they did it, and they implemented it in a way it wasn't just like you have a new jacket or you have a new hat and this increases. It's like you're actually trading out parts of your body.
Yeah.
And then you have the amulets on top, which can increase health or whatever. Okay, so let's get on to the bosses, right? So I only did the first boss, which was the Parade Master. You've done all three. Tell me your experience with the bosses. What do you think?
My experience with bosses. Okay, I'll start first with Mad Donkey, which is the second boss you come across on the bridge. Very easy. Like any Souls game always has that NPC boss fight where it's basically you fighting another character that has the same moveset as you. So that case, yeah, it's you versus you. So for that case, the Mad Donkey fight, not too difficult. If you look at the video of it, I beat it on my first try. If you look, the first half of the fight, I'm trying to figure out his moves, and then I realise halfway through, I can just backstab him to death, at which point I don't get hit again. So it was very easy to sneak around the back of him and hit him with a backstab. I think 3 or 4 times that finished him off. So not necessarily that hard. We'll go on to the one that we both did, the Parade Master. I thought the Parade Master, I loved the intro for the boss fight. A good intro. I thought the fight was really good. Like, this is the thing. I think we both had the same experience when we played it the first time. I played it the first time, and even though I did beat him the first time, I felt like, the animation's janky. I can't read it. How am I supposed to perfect block and all these things? But then playing it again, it seemed to click a lot more. I don't necessarily know if I like the idea of making second phases harder by adding an elemental element to it. Like, obviously he has the fire once it goes into the second phase, because sometimes I feel like that can be a little bit unfair. I guess unfair would be the word, just because it kind of seems like it makes the hitbox a little bit wider. You've got less space to move into. You've got to be a lot more careful when there's fire everywhere. But apart from that, I thought for a boss they've shown in the demo, makes me intrigued to see what other bosses are going to look like. And I thought it was a really good opening boss into the game, to be fair. Was surprised and really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I got stuck in him for a while. I wasn't too best pleased with him. What I had done is I changed my weapon to a larger weapon, and I think that was my mistake. And I think I said this to you, that I feel like in the original, in the release of the game, you're not going to be able to buy those weapons where you can buy them. I think they've done that as kind of a, hey, you can buy these, give them a try, see what you think. But in the release, you'll be with the original weapon that you start the game with. Obviously, you have the choice between the three, and I chose the rapier to begin with. And I just wasn't in the right. My class wasn't right for it, because as soon as I went to the rapier, I beat him on my second try, I believe. and that was like I felt more comfortable using it. I think everyone was spec'd out a little bit better for it. I preferred the other weapon, but it hit harder, and I liked the moveset. But then I don't think it was the right one to use for that. So as soon as I moved back to rapier, it was fine, and I managed it quite well.
On that, I think you make a good point, because one thing that I kind of realized from my first playthrough to my second one, even though I wasn't using the heavy weapon, when you use a heavy weapon, it's about dealing damage. And I think on the first playthrough, I was just trying to deal a lot of damage and wasn't necessarily paying attention to. I was thinking I could dodge everything, which didn't work. And I think once you do use a quicker weapon, and especially with the groggy state that you can get on the enemy, where you can land, I guess we'll say, a visceral attack. Those mechanics work a lot better for a faster build, and that's I think probably found that a bit more on the second time, like you did. One more boss, there was the Scrapped Watchman, who is the last boss. Just to quickly touch on that, really like that boss. The one thing I didn't like, just out of interest, was, like I was saying, with adding the elemental damage, is the fact that he does his lightning in the second round. Second phase of the fight, and it's just everywhere, and it's one of those where if you stand in it, it does damage to you, and then all of a sudden you get status effects, and it's like, why? I hate it when you have to like manufacture difficulty through adding an element as opposed to adding like new moves, even though there are a few extra moves he does in the second phase. It's literally all the same moves, just he's doing lightning with them.
I've noticed that in the second phase he has like this area of effect where like lightning pillars start appearing.
Yeah.
It gives it more of a bullet hell style combat. It reminded me a bit of Nier Automata in the way the boss fight was set up. So the boss attacks, but you're not having to focus entirely on the boss's physical attacks. You have to be careful of the floor and your where you are, like your situational awareness with regards to his attacks. So he'd do like pillars of lightning coming up everywhere, and you kind of just have to stay away from them. It's not a bad move, but I get what you mean. It's especially because I think that we don't. The game doesn't go very far in explaining the status effects, how they affect you, what they do to you. You get electric shocked, and you're electric shocked. It doesn't really go into much detail. There aren't any cures that we've seen so far. So there's nothing you can use to kind of get rid of it. Whereas like Scarlet Rot, you can use something, and all these kind of other status effects that come up in a game. They're introduced to you in ways that allow you to kind of know how they do things and then how to treat them. They kind of I know there are guys throwing like electric pot things at you when you're first up in the rooftops of Krat. But in general, it doesn't. Yeah, the bastards. But in general, it doesn't like go out of its way to say, hey, when you've got electric shock, this is what's going to happen. Your stamina's not going to regen, or you get a tick damage and all this kind of stuff. I was a bit unsure of that. And I feel like what it is it's suffering again from this thing of it's a demo, and I'm pretty sure on release the game will be very different. The first 3 hours of the game will not be this 3 hours.
No,
it's going to be something very different. I think they've kind of given you an avenue to go through. They've shown you certain things which won't be in the original in the release, to kind of get you a taste of things to come. So I think you'll probably find that boss will be later in the game, or it'll be in a different section, or like you'll have to do something prior to it to go there. You'll learn a bit more about the electric effect and how things work, and you'll have a bit more knowledge before you go to it. I could be wrong, it could be exactly the same, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like it should be something that would become later with further explanation. Yeah. But so that's the 3 bosses. I've only done one. I'm not actually done with it. I will go back to it. I just got frustrated the other day. I got ganked by a couple of guys. Basically, one thing I don't like about it is I do feel like there are slight limitations with regards to the performance. So I notice, when I'm pressing input, sometimes it doesn't work. So for instance, with the rapier, you can do a 3 lights and then a heavy. But I found myself sometimes doing the 3 lights, pressing heavy, and nothing happening. And it just does 3 lights and it stops and does nothing. And I've still got stamina left, and it doesn't really. I don't understand why. And in a game like this, when you stop, you die. And
Jose was saying a similar thing as well. Jose was saying a similar thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the dodge mechanic, I think the iframes in the dodge mechanic are slightly off. Sometimes you'll press dodge and it will dodge in the right direction. Sometimes it dodges in a weird direction, which I thought was very strange. Like it didn't really know where you wanted you to go. I found you couldn't dodge through attacks very well.
Mm.
You can dodge backwards quite well. It's very much a backstep heavy dodge. You're trying to dodge into someone. Do you know how that Souls-like game, someone goes to attack you from the forward and they've got this swing up? As they go to hit, you dodge behind and you can dodge through them or past their attack and you end up on the other side of them, you can hit. And you can even do this in like Jedi Survivor and stuff, but I found that it didn't work every time.
It was hard to judge the iframes.
Yeah, for sure. And in a game where the dodge is essential, it should be easier to know, or should be at least intuitive enough to know, if I move at this time, I'm going to get out of the way. And the reason I put it down the other day is I was walking down an alleyway. I didn't have much health left. I come into a guy to backstab. The backstab thing turned up. I pressed right button and my guy just jabbed him in the back. And then he turned around and hit me. And I was absolutely astonished, thinking, how the fuck did this just happen? You know what I mean? I'm meant to be able to do a backstab and it just completely ignored it. So the game's going back on its own mechanics. It's telling you you can do this thing and it's promoting it. And when you go to do it, it doesn't work. So I think it might just be a little bit buggy.
I think they'll clean all of that up in the release.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm very confident they will. I think they're definitely onto a winner here. I think it's going to be an amazing game. I will definitely play it on release. I think it's going to be sick. You know what I mean? I never got a chance to play Bloodborne because obviously you didn't have a PlayStation. I played it a little bit around your house and stuff like that, but I've never had the chance to sit down and do a proper session of it and play it through. So I'm happy to have a Souls-like, Bloodborne-like game that I can play on the Xbox and just kind of smash out. So yeah, I mean, we were meant to do a quick discussion on this game. We've ended up talking for like 35-40 minutes. Just there's a lot to it. Yeah. It's quite surprising, but it's definitely worth checking out. If anyone hasn't done so, check out the demo. I think it's out on Game Pass. Coming day one, Game Pass. Join Xbox Series X. Yeah, I thought so. So yeah,
I mean, even saying that, the one thing I will point about this, I mean, as an outro for it, the video, I guess what we'd say is you'll definitely be playing it because it is on Game Pass. Honestly, I think I will be picking it up on PlayStation just because graphically the PS is better than my Series S, and I actually really like the game. And it is $49.99 as opposed to being like a 70 quid, which is what a lot of games are coming out for this day, which is a bit of an annoyance.
Do you think this is classified as a AA game? It's not a AAA, but not an indie game. So I think it is a smaller developer, right? It's not a big, well-known developer.
The reality is, I think it is an indie game. It's just they put so much work and effort in it.
It's, AA is like a classification for new indie games now, which come in at almost a AAA standard. So, and this,
definitely, I'd say that.
So they did, and no, I'm keen to play it. I'm keen to see more of it, learn more, see who's lying, see who's peeing, see crutting, see people, doing stuff. And if I could set fire to people, it'd be nice, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to seeing your edit of this video where it's under 55 minutes.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, so thank you very much for listening. If you stayed with us till this time, amazing. Well done. You deserve cookies and brownies. Don't be a liar. Don't be a peer. Subscribe. Follow, notification bell, all that kind of stuff. Come back here for more content. When Lies of P is released, we'll do another video on it, get a bit more gameplay, and maybe we'll do a full review. Let you guys know what we think. You guys let us know what you think at the same time. Drop it down in the comments. We've been Raven Gaming. No, what are we now? What are we?
We are the Ravens.
That's the question I asked you when I roll over in the morning. But what are we? We're the Ravens. New look on its way. We do gaming stuff. We may do stuff that's not gaming, but please keep an eye out for those kind of things. But yeah, have a nice day. I've been the lawyer to King Costi, and that's my client. Don't give him your name. Say no comment.
I've got no strings to hold me down.
Oh, look at this guy. Look at this guy.
But now my balls just hit the ground. I don't know. No, that's not.
Fuck me. Your balls are held on the string. Wow.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Forever. All right, cool. Well, that's an outro. Make it work. Dance puppets.